So we glued down our aluminum struts, and the way we measured and cut all of this, the 1-inch foam insulation that sits between these struts is cut in so tightly that it actually keeps everybody in line. Everybody's all squared and positioned where they should be, just by virtue of being all assembled nice and tight. So the 1-inch tubing is glued to the floor on every high spot. It's not just 2 or 3 points of contact. It's every high spot in the van floor gets ground down. Take the paint away. Then we cover that ground paint, that bare metal. We cover that bare metal with the dollop of adhesive. Be careful not to use a water-based adhesive or you'll cause rust on that bare metal. Make sure you're not using water-based adhesive. So the 1-inch aluminum tubing goes down, 1-inch foam in between, 6.5 R value. And what we did here is similar to what I did with the water tank in van number 1. This is a recessed shower pan. This is a custom stainless steel shower pan. We're using high-grade stainless, the type that's not magnetic. Why are we recessing this pan? The first reason is when we attach this drain, the drain is going to get attached to the stainless steel pan. The hole that the drain goes through in the van floor is larger. That way you can come up from the bottom underneath the van at any time and loosen and remove this whole drain mechanism if need be, for whatever reason. It fails, it's leaking, whatever. You should be able to take that apart. It's not fixed in with the van floor sandwiched in as well. So we've got 1-inch tubing and foam. Then we've got a 1/2 inch of plywood subfloor that goes over this, which is also getting glued and screwed to the aluminum. And then we have our finished floor, which is what, 1/4 inch. So we're 1.75 inches of depth to the van floor. So this pan is going to sit down 1.75 inches from the finished floor. We're going to have a boardwalk in here, like I did in van 1. So there will be a step into the shower area, but it will be minimized because of the boardwalk. But we also get a 4-inch deep shower pan this way. And then what I do is I'll stick a little strip of heavy mass vinyl in here before the plywood. And what that does is it just minimizes any rattling that might occur, any wear and tear on the plywood walls. So that's what that is. That goes right there. Now, same thing on the water tank over here. The water tank sits in a depression that's 1.75 inches below finished floor. I put a few strips of heavy mass vinyl along the sides to protect it from the aluminum. I've got a nice piece of 3/4 inch pine that I'll sit in here as a cushioning spacer. Now, obviously, I guess I have to mention that we're not putting the bare water tank on the bare van floor. We'll have a little bit of foam insulation and some mass vinyl under it to act as a thermal break. Wherever I have an 80/20 module, the refrigerator module, the galley module here, those frame members are sitting on these 1-inch square tubes. They bear the weight. They transfer the weight of that module down through to the van floor. So we don't have any bellying occurring in our 1/2 inch plywood. Wherever there's a pressure point of weight, like this refrigerator module, you see, 4 feet, it's basically 4 legs. Each of those legs lands on one of these aluminum tubes, transfers the weight directly down through the floor. Nothing is bellying in the center of the plywood for weight. Although I got to say, this foam is pretty structural. We've been walking on it, and it's not giving at all. Now here we have a water situation. All our water is going to originate here. The water pump is here. It's going to be sucking out of the water tank here. The water heater is here. And it's an easy run from here to the galley sink, hot and cold. It's on the same side of the van. It runs right through the top of my galley module. But we also need to run hot and cold over to the shower, opposite side of the van. So what I did is I ran one continuous line, hot and cold. This is Pro-Pex. This is not regular PEX. Pro-Pex and Uponor fittings. I'm going to give you a demonstration of Uponor fittings in a minute. But my thinking, I did not want to use any fittings where I was going to bury these lines, these water lines. So where they go under the floor and are glued down with the subfloor, they're continuous. There are no fittings, there's no unions, no couplings, no elbows. I use 90-degree bends, which come in the system. So it starts here and it ends behind the fridge. That's where I'll put my first fitting to continue to the shower area. We can get at that fitting. We can inspect that fitting. But under the floor, it's all one run, home run. So look at what we did here. We had our 1-inch tubing from the garage. We left that half exposed when we did the garage because we knew we were going to be doing this little move here. So we had that 1-inch tube. We put another 1-inch tube down here. We left room in the middle. We laid down some thin slate insulation, and we're putting in these little slivers of foam. The slivers of foam are to keep the tubes off the aluminum and to keep them from touching one another. If you marry hot and cold lines, you'll have neither hot nor cold. You'll have warm. So we're keeping the hot and cold lines separated, but in the same channel, the same chaseway. Now these are getting sealed in. When we come in with our next plywood subfloor and we glue that down from beam to beam, aluminum beam to aluminum beam with our plywood insulation underneath, look how nice these little lines are going to stay in there. They're cradled in safety forever. Uponor. Uponor fittings. Very specific. Nothing like PEX, not to be confused with PEX. Pro-PEX tubing, okay? Looks just like PEX. Your collars or your sleeves go on the end of the tubing, okay? And there's a stop, there's a couple of little stops on here. So you can only push it on so far. See this? It's like a little plastic collar. Only goes on one way and it stops. You can't mess it up. Now there's a tool made specifically for Uponor fittings. See that? Here's how this works. You need to put two PEX tubes together. Here's what you do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You spread it, you push the fitting on, and it compresses around the fitting. That's it. It's done. It's not going to leak. The fittings have these two little stop barbs, and that's how you know how far to put the fitting into the connection. It's not coming out. It's in, and it spins, and it won't leak. Uponor. Look, I'll do it again. Put your fitting on. Now obviously you want your tubing to be cut nice and square. Get your fitting on the tubing. It's easier said than done. See? It only goes on so far. That's fun. We want this, right? Spreads it. Spreads the tubing. Stretches the hell out of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what I do in this temperature. Push it in till it hits the stops. You seeing this? That's it. We're done. There's a fitting. Uponor fittings. These are not crimp fittings. Crimp fittings fail. Okay? And there's operator error with crimp fittings. If you're not a good crimper, you're going to have a problem. This, as long as you remember to put the collar on and then stretch it enough, because once you pull this gun out, it starts shrinking. So you need to make sure that you've spread it and stretched it enough that you've got time to put the fitting in and just push it up to the stops. Okay, they made this stuff for idiots.